Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wrestling Review Podcast, where each episode we take a look back at another classic episode of WWF Monday Night Raw. Today we are looking at episode 8, which aired on the 8th of March 1993, but in fact was recorded on the 1st of March 1993 from, yet again, the Manhattan Center in New York. Again, on commentary tonight, we've got Vince McMahon, Macho Man Randy Savage, and, yes, once more, Rob Bartlett. We start the show with the Hulk Hogan, Brutus Beefcake, and Jimmy Hart promo. Hulk recites a poem for us and does the majority of the talking in the promo. They talk about how they've been training together and that they accepted the title match for WrestleMania. Brutus says that he is most concerned with taking the mirrors and turn signals off their motorbikes so that they can hang their tag team titles over the handlebars as they drive along. Which sounds a little bit dangerous, if you ask me. It doesn't sound like the best idea Brutus has ever had. They end with a live from New York. It's Monday Night Raw, which I guess is a takeoff of the Saturday Night Live opening. It's a bit of a fib, as we know that this episode was in fact recorded a week earlier. But there we go. The opening video plays, and we are back to having the siren when we come back into the arena as Vince welcomes us and talks about how Rob's back this week after Elvis was here last week. Well, if I have to choose between Rob doing an Elvis impression or just Rob, I will choose just Rob, but he doesn't get any better. It's, episode 8 now, we're 8 weeks into this, 2 months into Monday Night Raw, and Rob I don't get why he's there. He clearly doesn't understand wrestling. He's not enthusiastic about what's going on in the ring. He makes jokes about what's happening, about the wrestlers. It doesn't work for me. Anyway, we get match 1, and we have Money Inc. versus El Matador and Virgil. Virgil and El Matador are out first to El Matador's music. Money Inc. come out to Ted's music, which I personally still think is one of the best entrance songs. It just really sums up that character, that gimmick, and just really works. You instantly know who it is. It's great. IRS gets on the mic when they get into the ring and says that people are going to have to pay their fair share. The crowd really seem to be into this, or at least they're really into Money Inc. and booing them, so that's quite a good reaction. Ted starts out with Tito, and I'm not sure how much of the Ted-Virgil story they're still playing up here. I know obviously Virgil used to be with Ted DiBiase, but obviously they've split up. I don't know when that was. I don't know how much of that's still a thing, or if we kind of just moved on from it. Ted and Tito go back and forth, with Tito whipping Ted into the corner, hitting an elbow to the face, which Vince McMahon likes to call the kisser. Virgil tags in, and Ted quickly manages to tag to IRS, so we're a bit of the Virgil-Ted thing where they're still not... Ted doesn't want to lock up there with Virgil, gets out as quick as he can. The crowd start chanting Irwin to annoy IRS, which I'm not sure why he doesn't like having his own name chanted. Like, the crowd are literally just chanting Irwin, Irwin, and IRS doesn't seem to like this. Virgil with the headlock into a hip toss, and IRS goes to the outside where Tito's waiting, and he gets clocked on the outside by Tito. We get some double teaming from Tito and Virgil, which seems a bit heelish as Ted talks to the ref. A cover from Tito gets a 2, but Vince seems convinced it was a 3. Randy says that Tito and Virgil are working as a better team than the other team, who Vince reminds us are the tag team champions. We get more Irwin chants from the crowd, and the Nasty Boys apparently have stepped aside to allow the Mega Maniacs to have their title shot. So that was very decent of the Nasty Boys to just step aside and let the Mega Maniacs take their title shot. Not so much it's stepping aside as probably Hulk just said he's having it. So, yeah. We get another point where Virgil comes back into the ring without making a tag, and they do the hand clap thing, which makes the noise so the ref thinks there was a tag, but he was distracted by Ted again. It's really odd. They really seem to be sort of playing the heel team here to Tito and Virgil. It's odd. Virgil with the armbar, and Vince and Randy and Rob pull off the uncooked, uncut and uncensored little skit again. I'm so confused by this match now because it really just seems like Virgil and Tito are the heels. Ted's reaching for the tag, but Tito knocks him off the apron. It's just very confusing for me. Ted and IRS are supposed to be big heels that are taking on Hulk and Brutus, but yet they're the ones that are being cut off from the tag. They're the ones that are being double teamed. We come back from the break and IRS is in control and tags in Ted, double teaming, and Vince cries for the ref to turn around. Where was this outrage from Vince when Tito and Virgil were pulling the exact same thing before the break? Which to me just, again, seems a bit odd. Hot tag to Virgil and he comes in to whip IRS into the corner after a series of fists. Ted trips Virgil on the outside. IRS hits a suplex for the 3. Bit of a poor finish that didn't really look like it should be putting Virgil away for the 3 count. It was just a suplex after a trip on the outside. Next up, we see a Shawn and Tatanka match from 3 weeks ago on Superstars, where Tatanka won. Then the tag team match, where we see Tatanka nearly getting Shawn again. Shawn then gets rolled up by Tatanka again for the win. So that's a couple of clean losses for Shawn that we've seen highlighted there at the hands of Tatanka, building up to their WrestleMania match. We'll get a Raw ring girl in the ring, and out comes Rick the Model Martel, and he's come to take over. And what is he wearing? Just what is he wearing? He looks like he should be on a boat. We get a WWF Mania promo with Todd, who seems very hyper here and really wants us to watch WWF Mania, which, to be honest, does look quite good. Bit of a recap show, bit of everything on there. Our second match of the night is Tatanka versus Phil Apolo. Tatanka comes out to the ring and Phil's already out there waiting for him. Tatanka goes for a leapfrog, but Phil almost stops and has Tatanka land on his head and very nearly botch that move. So they just do it again, and they do it better. Second block hip toss attempts, and both men go for hip tosses, which ends up with Tatanka throwing Phil to the outside. On the outside, we get some chops from Tatanka back inside, and chops from Tatanka in the corner. Shawn is on the phone now, and he's talking to Vince and says that Tatanka got lucky twice, but at WrestleMania, he'll roll the dice once again, and this time, Tatanka will lose. Shawn is going in as champ and walking out as champ, and Shawn says that he is not worried. Back in the ring, Tatanka gets the win. It was a dull match, and I got very distracted by Shawn and Vince's chat, and yeah, it was just dull. We go to Mean Gene with a WrestleMania report, we get a fairly good video package here, hyping WrestleMania. Apparently now we have a double main event at WrestleMania, with the tag team titles being billed as the other main event. So we get a promo from Brett, who's been studying Yokozuna and sees him squashing everyone, and as he's undefeated, he respects that, but they don't respect him. Them being Fuji and Yokozuna don't respect Brett. Brett says he's the underdog, but that's okay with him. Fuji talks next, and it's quick, because I can't really tell what he's saying, and Yoko ends it with his bonsai. Mean Gene tells us that we will see Undertaker versus Giant Gonzalez also at WrestleMania, so we get a quick Paul Bearer and Undertaker promo, and quite a bit of talking from the Undertaker. It's quite good. Rick the Model Martel comes out again to take over, holding up the ring card, and sends the Raw ring girl to the back. After the break, we are told we'll get a Papa Shango match. And as we come back from the break, we do indeed get that Papa Shango match, and Papa is going up against Mike Edwards. Papa comes out in his full get-up with the skull and the smoking, and yeah, he looks kind of cool with his smoking skull and yeah, his robes and everything. Papa goes right to work on Mike, and the commentators rip on Mike for his hairy back. Papa with clubs and a big elbow, hard whip, and Papa charges into the corner. Back suplex, and he picks Mike up before the 3. Just notice that the ref's belt buckle is quite something here. So the referee, normally, don't really notice them. They're not referees that I've seen before. There seem to be different refs quite a lot. But this one, got his shirt on, got his black trousers on, huge belt buckle. It was just caught my eye in the middle of this match. Get a side suplex, and Papa picks Mike up again before the 3 count. Papa with the shoulder breaker for the win, and it looked nasty. Like, after he did the shoulder breaker, he almost just dropped Mike on his head. Didn't look great. We get an Ico Pro advert with Brett again, followed by the Figures advert again. So this seems to be a weekly thing. We just get the same couple of adverts in the same order. The fourth match of the evening sees Tommy Demoro, I think that's how you say his name, versus Bob Backlund. Bob is someone that I kind of remember from maybe like a little bit later, but it can't have been a lot later than this, I guess. So it was quite good to see Bob. Bob comes out, but comes out to no music. Vince tells us that he is a former WWF champion and that he is on the comeback trail at 43 years old. Tony certainly has the look. He's well built. Tony Demoro here looks kind of like a modern day kind of wrestler. He looks quite quick and athletic. He's got the right sort of body type for it. Bob offers a handshake, but Tony doesn't want it. I'm not entirely sure. I think Bob's face here, but Tony's kind of playing the heel. But my understanding was the Bob's heel when I remember him. So I don't know if there's a turn coming or if again it's just another match on this night where heel face seem to have got a bit confused. Bob's going for the takedown, but they hug before Bob hits a suplex and then another. Tony goes to the outside. A big Bob chant starts as Rob leaves the commentary position to go and interview the model, so at least that's got rid of Rob for a little bit, and I'm guessing, Bob must be face here. Get some good amateur wrestling from Bob as Vince hypes some new shows coming up later. Tony gets behind Bob, but Bob reverses it, and then Bob gets a double underhook suplex and gets a creative roll-up for the win. Quite a decent match, I thought, actually, for what we've seen so far on Raw. It was a decent effort. We get a headlock on Hunger graphic, followed by an interview with model Rick Martel and Rob Bartlett. The model says that the girls had no class like what he does. He says perfection is boring and he will show Mr. Perfect what excitement is all about. So it then brings us to our main event of the evening, Mr. Perfect versus Rick the Model Martel. We come back from the break and here comes the model, followed by Mr. Perfect out next. The match gets off to a fast pace with slams and leg drags. We get a tie-up in the ropes and the model runs for the ropes now, and we have a lot of stalling after that quite fast start. The model does a cartwheel and some star jumps to taunt Mr. Perfect, and Perfect with his own cartwheel after getting sent into the ropes. They talk about Lex Luger quite a bit on commentary and how he's going to be facing Mr. Perfect at WrestleMania. Perfect gets taken into the corner and whips the model into the opposite corner, follows him in and gets a knee to the face. Model gets the control of the match now with an arm hold, but Perfect reverses and they go into the ropes, but Perfect ducks and the model goes over the top as we go to a break. Once we come back from the break, the model hits a gut wrench suplex for a 2. Hard right hand from the Mr. Perfect, but the model back in control, gets camel clutch. Perfect gets up and breaks the hold, but the model again takes back over in control, so not a lot of offense so far for Mr. Perfect. Backbreaker and the model goes up to the top rope, but I don't know what he was going for, but Mr. Perfect got his knees up, but the model again just kind of takes back over on control. I got a little bit lost as to what was happening there, and again Mr. Perfect catches him as the model comes off the top rope again. We get an atomic drop and then another from Perfect. Perfect takes down his strap and chops the model. Big back body drop, and we go to another commercial break. And then we come back from break and the match has finished. That's right, we come back from the commercial break and the match in the ring has finished. We see Perfect walking out the ring, his music playing. So we get a highlight clip of the Perfect Plex and the finish. But seriously, they ended a match while we were at a break. Why would you finish a match when you know you're at a break? Whether they just got the timings wrong, whether they're just getting used to this. I was going to say getting used to this live TV format. It wasn't even live. This was taped. They could have edited it. Why did they choose to finish a match? Whether they were just playing up the fact that it was live, Yeah. So after the match, we get a Macho Man SlimJim advert, followed by an advert for a video game that I haven't actually heard of before. It looks to be a Game Boy version. Lord Alfred tells us that it's called Body Slamming WrestleMania Action, and it's available on all video game systems. So definitely going to go and Google a little bit of that now. Perfect then comes back out to the ring with the Raw girls that the model sent to the back earlier. They walk around the ring with one on each arm. And Vince tells us that we have Kamala here next week, and Razor Ramon will be here as well. We're going to get Typhoon versus Bam Bam Bigelow. So I think next week, with Bam Bam and Razor being advertised for the show, quite looking forward to it. See what those two get up to. Could be a few more names that I've heard of. Overall, not a bad episode, actually. We had some good bits. We had the Hulk promo to start, which, it was Hulk. Ted DiBiase IRS were okay. Obviously, the Tatanka match was nothing. Obviously, Bob Backlund was quite good. And then the main event was a decent match, other than the ending of it being in a commercial break. Yeah, not a bad episode, that. It was quite enjoyable. So, we'll see what happens next time as we watch the next episode of Monday Night Raw. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Wrestling Review podcast. Be sure to come back next time as we listen to another episode of Monday Night Raw. Please rate, review, follow the podcast, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram at TWRPod20.